Yeah, it's true.
Raise up to 6,000.
Tom opens to 6,000 here, double the raise he's been making from the button previously, with 7 deuce.
That's highly unusual.
Man, I had your 7 again. I wanted to just take it down.
You don't have to do 7.
Tom announces his hand, and Sammy doesn't believe him.
You don't have to do 7.
It's funny, I mean, what would you make it 6x with? Obviously, he's trying to take the...
Either 7 deuce or a very strong hand trying to look like 7 deuce, I think.
10,000.
How much?
He's bet nearly the size of the pot, and Sammy calls here. Tom should pretty much be done with this at this stage, right? I mean...
Well, it's hard to say.
Raise.
Oh, Sammy has raised
Raise
it
up
here.
to 27.
A little check raise to only 27,000. You can really see how that big bet pre-flop compounds on itself to build a gigantic pot. The pot had only been 6 going into the flop. Maybe Tom bets 5 and Sammy raises to 15, but now we're building a huge pot here.
Feels like kind of an optimistic call. I mean, that deuce of hearts, you know, the heart will come and Tom could be in big trouble.
Still be behind. I wonder if he's reading something into that raise size by Sammy. It reminds me a little bit of the Queen-Jack hand, where Sammy had Queen-Jack and Tom had 7-5 on Queen-6-3, and Sammy made a little check raise, and then Tom ended up bluffing him out of the pot. I wonder if something similar might be going on here, if Tom thinks Sammy has made that check raise with a medium-strength hand that he might not be willing to get all his chips in with.
That's a big bet.
It is.
48,000.
That's
48.
that's a crazy bet. I mean, like, Durrrr could... He must think he's drawing dead right now, Durrrr.
He probably thinks he's got a shot at the heart being live, but a whole lot of the time, yeah, he'll be drawing dead to a small or medium flush or something like top or second pair with a big heart.
Time to give up.
He's come this far. It's got to be tempting to try to win that 162,000 in the middle one way or another.
I mean, surely Sammy's checked the call here, and Durrrr knows it.
Sammy has a stronger hand than I think Tom would expect.
So you're thinking maybe he's got something like just a dry king of hearts and he can take him off it?
Or something like King Jack with the King of Hearts, King 10 with the King of Hearts for a gut shot as well.
Come on.
No!
Wow! That is a gigantic bet.
No way.
More than double the pot. What is Sammy going to do here? This is making things awfully tough on him.
You know, he's checked there. He's checked there to call instantly, hasn't he? And now...
That was the plan, but that plan goes out the window and your opponent bets over double the pot.
He doesn't have 479, but he's got a lot of chips.
About 360, I believe.
I think he's gone like white. Look at, you know, this is all fun and games way back when this started. This bet. This is serious. This is serious.
Yeah, I think the stakes might be getting to Sammy now. This is a big bet. Over $250,000.
What has he got to tell himself? What's going in his head? What do you say logically right now?
Just put the dollar amounts out of your mind. Think about the logic of the pot. What can Tom have here? Tom can have a lot of things here. He can have a flop set that's now filled up. He could have the flop nut flush. He could also have a bunch of different bluffs. He could have easily taken one off on the flop with the King of Hearts or the Queen of Hearts. Yeah, turns out he took one off on the flop with the Deuce of Hearts to set up this bluff, but it's hard to picture Sammy expecting that. And you do have to think back to the $6,000 raise pre-flop, too. That really changes a lot about this hand. There's something weird going on right from the first bet here.
He's looking at him. You can stare at Durrrr all day long. And he's just going to have that same...
Sammy might be thinking Tom could have aces with that big raise pre-flop. It's down to the 2 black aces. Sammy's got the ace of diamonds in his hand, and the ace of hearts is on the board.
Would he have played aces like this?
Quite conceivably. There's no street where I think he definitely would have done something different.
I mean, I know Durrrr plays stakes like this all the time, but this is a big pot. This is a big bluff.
Yeah.
He's gotta be scared that Sammy's gonna call.
Yeah. Sammy looks like he's going to call. He looks like he's...
This is the pot to get him even.
Yeah, Sammy calls here, and he's ahead. Tom will have only about 120,000 left in front of him. Sammy will be up 130.
Just a moment.
Looks like Sammy might be getting ready to get rid of those cards.
Wow. Oh, you can't fold, Sammy.
There it goes. And Tom will table the 7-2 to collect an additional 10,000.
Ouch.
And he told him right at the outset of the hand, I have 7-2, I just wanted to pick up the blinds. Sammy said he didn't believe him.
You want it done?
And he didn't.
Flush.
2 pair.
This pot will go down in the history of TV poker. This was just incredible.
There's an elephant in the room, and it's the 7 deuce.
I thought you had a flush when you were thinking so long.
I have a flush, I call you instantly.
You can't call it instantly.
Yeah, I can.
3 times the pot.
I thought you, know something, you made it 6,000, huh? Cool. Nice hand.
I mean, this hand's going to be talked about forever.
What an interesting hand, with the dynamic of the 7 deuce and an amazing bluff at the end by Tom Dwan. This is a very, very exciting hand, and showed just what a true talent Tom is at just gauging his opponent and finding ways to win pots you would think was almost impossible.
I hate Sammy's playing this hand, actually. I think, I mean, it's all going well up until the turn, and then I'm just thinking, oh, he's just check call the river, no problem at all.
Well, he was intending to check call the river, right?
Yeah, why didn't he check call the river, Roland?
I think it was because the bet was just too big. I mean, he just didn't want to be out, the hand, and, you know, the board kind of got a bit ugly. I mean, Tom could have a 3. There are certain hands he could have now that he's losing to.
Do you think he got intimidated by the money, though? I mean, I don't
think he got intimidated by the money, but the fact that it was all his stack more than the cash amount.
I mean, up till now, when I've looked at Sammy, he just looks like someone that's having fun. It might as well be like a £10 tournament. These are just play money chips. You know, some guy once said that the guy who invented chips is the real genius in gambling. And for Sammy, like, looking at him, this doesn't look like $500,000, $1 million, 250,000 at a time. It just looks like a load of pieces of plastic.
He's comfortable.
In that hand, it looked like real money to me, and I felt like he got intimidated by the money.
And Tom Dwan, though, I mean, this was... Like, he's a loser. He's gone from over 400K up to about 150 down if Sammy just calls there. This was, I mean, was it sick or was it smart?
Well, it was spectacularly well judged, I think. He knew where he was. He's on the table in the hand facing the guy, and sometimes you get a unique insight. It's easy for us sitting here when we can see the cards and thinking about the situation, but when you're actually there, he maybe just saw a small gap where he could win the pot.
Well, I'll tell you what the small gap was. There was a gap here. Tom went to reach for his chips on the river, and Sammy did the thing that you should never do. He defensively picked up his big chips as if to say, if you bet, I'm ready for you. And when they do that, they're never ready for you. They're always folding. And that's what Tom saw, I think.
Sammy's in trouble, though.
I'm afraid so.